Well, these words haven't been said in a while, but hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Only it's Tuesday. Yes, indeed. The new bank holiday in February means that your first installment this year effectively has come on a Tuesday. Yes, indeed. I am going to say thank you to Barry Caul and Declan O'Donoghue for giving up some time with me this morning. By the time you're watching this, it's well and truly into the evening. The exiled Dub has been exiled. He's currently doing stable visits. This Cheltenham's going to prove very pesky for the next few weeks, but have no fear. I'm sure he'll be back in the very near future. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure to be in Shelbourne Park over the weekend. Declan, I know you were there. Barry, you were certainly there. Guess what? I was there. And we saw the best in the business in action in the opening round of the Paddy Kehoe Suspended Seedings Gold Cup. Firstly, great to see a sponsor coming on board. Paddy Kehoe has been involved and has been a Greyhound enthusiast for a long, long time, Declan. Just great to see sponsors coming on board. Very important to us.
Absolutely, and Paddy's been around the scene, as you say, for a very long time, and he even has a contender in it that won a heat so far. So all good, yeah, for sure.
Barry, you were there. Obviously, the Dublin Racing Festival was on. We were afraid that would affect attendances and whatnot. Huge crowds in Leopardstown. Great to see. Who knew festivals work? Oh yeah, they do. They certainly work both in Irish greyhound racing and in horse racing. But I was pleasantly surprised by how many were there in their racing garb, arriving after the races to Shelbourne Park.
Yeah, there was plenty there. Good to see. Good to see great racing back as well. Like top class card there on Saturday night. But the crowds have been decent in Shelbourne the last couple of Saturday nights as well, and Fridays as well, for that matter. Look, the restaurants have been quite busy for this time of year compared to normal years. But yeah, good to see a good crowd, and yeah, plenty of them did come over from Leopardstown, including some bookmakers as well. So, but yeah, good to see good crowds, and you'll always get good crowds when you have good racing.
Yeah, you certainly will. Jack, let's get into it. It's a competition where at the start of year in, year out, you go, wow, it's a good competition, but it could have been stronger. But it invariably ends up being a very strong competition towards the end because the cream generally does rise to the top. There's plenty of cream in this competition. We'll kick off with the opening heat. Pat Buckley, not for the first time at Shelbourne Park, had a bit of a flyer. Won the first two heats. The first heat winner was Stream of Sydney. She's very powerful. So when she turned second, the writing was on the wall. Very encouraging first run of the year for another holiday in second spot. But Stream of Sydney took the plaudits. 28:33, fastest run of the night.
It was both of them emerged with tremendous credit. Stream of Sydney had race fitness. He'd been running in that team. We had three winners from that event in Tralee actually on Saturday night, which was remarkable. And I saw one of the heats in Tralee. He passed two exceptional dogs in front of him. Ballymacfin was definitely one of them, which takes doing over 5.25. And again here, another holiday. The seconds were 2 seconds 15.85. You know that is some moving. And to come behind him, the thing with Stream of Sydney, okay, normally those dogs in 5.25 and Shelbourne will struggle at some stage. Those who come from behind, but he's always up at the pace. He's always just coming from second or third, and a close second.
She,
yeah.
Sorry. It's only 65 pounds of her. She's a nice type, isn't she?
I'm still thinking of another holiday because he had two sprint trials coming into this. Now he hadn't match fitness on his side or anything. So as I said, the two of them emerged with incredible credit from this. And they're two leading contenders straight away.
Yeah, Barry, when you look at it, like obviously Stream of Sydney, it's easy to make claims for her. We know how strong she is. She'll look to keep progressing. But in terms of picking the more likely winner of the competition, it's hard to look past another holiday showing the early speed that he did. 15.85, looked a proper tool last year, a sensational youngster, brilliant winner of the champion on race to Kilkenny, ran so well at Shelbourne Park for his first few starts there, and effectively had an unlucky exit from the juvenile derby. But here we are returning back in 2023, and just a brilliant run from the front.
Yeah, and his comeback run as well, Ian. And as you mentioned in commentary, his fitness was going to be tested down the back straight, and you call it spot on. But I don't recall too many dogs going quicker to the third bend of 15.85. I think it's once you see the 16 seconds broken, you know it's going to be a huge run. But look, just to touch on the winner, she was very good down in the Kingdom Derby, the Eric Brown Derby down in Tralee. She was very unlucky. I think it was the semi-final or the quarterfinal when she was flying into the third bound behind Sunshine Dream. She was very unlucky that night. Showed massive pace. But once she turned as well as she did, the writing was on the wall. But for another holiday to only go down by a length, flying into the third bend, he's got a good draw next week, and you expect him to lead again. He should come on for that run. And if you're coming on for doing 28, an estimated 28.40 the other night, he's coming on at all. You're going to be off the front more times than not, doing 28.20. It's going to be very, very hard to come from behind. And if he's doing those sort of runs over the next couple of weeks, he should continue to qualify at the very least. Rat Down Molly and Tor, she ran well for Des and Mary Gilbert. Obviously better off the front.
I have to actually mention Bill Mulholland, who tunes in, watches us, doesn't get to the track as often as he'd like. He's a few years young at this stage, but well done, Bill. You're into the next round. She's a cracking lady. Declan, I know, has been a big fan of hers, but you too, Barry. Obviously, you like her.
Yeah, I thought she was very impressive last week behind that dog of Robert Gleason's, the Droopy's dog. I forget his name now.
Toolmaker Stan.
Toolmaker Stan. Sorry,
She beat him last week. She held him off.
Yeah,
in an incident.
Yeah, controversial finish. But look, not about the finish that night. Toolmaker Stan flew the lids that night. Absolutely bombed the lids, and she still made the bend ahead of him, which was the most impressive part of that race for me. So, look, as I mentioned, she's better off the front. She ran well. She's only 3.5 lengths behind another Holiday, and things didn't go to plan. Clone of Blue for Kevin Losty running on back in third. I'm not a big fan of these 4 to qualify, I must say, but I'm sure the racing office were delighted when 4 to qualify with a dead heat for third. I just think we've seen 36 dogs there on Saturday night. We're going to see 24 of them again this Saturday night.
Yeah.
And you know yourself, there's some dogs finishing fourth place that they're so far off the pace, if you know what I mean. And this happens in graded competitions as well. You see dogs maybe beat 10, 11 lengths and they're turning up again for another shot. I just don't like the 4 qualifying.
It was true circumstance because it was advertised for 48, but when you consider the likes of Liam Dowling doesn't have runners. Obviously, focus on Clonmel this week. He has dogs running both at the festival and, of course, at the racing festival in Clonmel. So, obviously, like, he could have provided 8. You know what I mean? And that would have got it close to the 48 mark. They would have got to 48. Then all of a sudden it's 3 to qualify. But at this time of the year, it's funny. The Gold Cup has generally only been sort of 36, sort of. You know, they might have had a 42 one year, and again they're juggling with fastest forts and whatnot. But listen, it's 3 to qualify from next week, and that's when it really gets interesting. Declan behind Rathdown Molly and Clone of Blue. Both very capable of going another round or two. Differing styles, obviously. Rathdown Molly early speed, Clone of Blue is a strong runner, but hard to look past the top 2 in terms of how impressive they were.
Well, yes, and I also heard that another Holiday's preparation was held up slightly by frost, but I'm sure that applies to a lot of runners. Ratdown Molly is brilliant. She has the early foot here. Clone of Blue is a very good dog, but you would think at the top level 525 is just a little bit sharp for him, but a very good dog. And they're both Shelbourne regulars, which helps as well.
Yeah, onto the second heat, and it went to Cloneden Flash. You touched upon it earlier on, Declan. Partially owned by, or half owned by Paddy Kehoe, the sponsor, and the Curry, trained by Pat Buckley. A quick double for Pat. Cloneden Flash was a good gutsy winner. Radical Hero just couldn't quite get loose at the head of affairs. Probably looked like he needed the run as well. Radical Hero, he's not a big dog. He's only 66 pounds, and he really just couldn't stretch away from them, having got to the front. But Cloneden Flash was nothing but game and has plenty of racing in under his belt over the last few weeks, and it really stood to him.
It was a repeat of the first heat, if you like. The one that wasn't quite match fit, led out, ran very well to a certain state, and then the one that's coming hot from the event in Tralee, the championship in Tralee, which is a brilliant event, wins in the end. 2 of them very good going forward, certainly.
Barry, looking at Cloneden Flash, like, he's a nice dog. He's now won 4 from 8. Progression would be what he'd be looking forward from now on, because it's going to get considerably hotter. He's behind Ballymacfin his last 2 starts prior to this event in Tralee. So he has been mixing good company. He's a nice dog. He's still relatively young. He's a December 20, but more so he's lightly raced. He's only had him in his 9th race the other night. So there is room for improvement. There's certainly an engine there. Thought Ballycowan Liam ran on very well. Of course, he was a Winter Racing Festival winner on December 29th, a good winner on that occasion, staying on stoutly on this occasion to finish second ahead of Radical Hero, and back in third, or back in fourth, should I say, in qualifying was Droopy's Lovable. I'm not sure the winner of the event will come out of this race, but I thought they all ran with credit.
Yeah, I think there's a couple you might give another chance to in this. Cloneden Flash, obviously decent dog for Pat Buckley. Seems to be able to do it both ways. I've seen him win a good race in Limerick before Christmas, I think it was, when he came away well. He can come away on occasions, and I think he's quite strong, but might just lack a yard of early pace against the really, really top ones. But look, he could do no more than win the other night. Ballycowan Liam, I thought, emerged with a bit of credit for Dean Harper. He sort of caught my eye. I had him down as maybe stronger off the front, and when I seen him down the back straight, maybe struggling in third, I was surprised to see him come home well enough. I know he's probably passing Tired Dog and Radical Hero, who probably needed the run, but I definitely keep an eye on him. Look, maybe not necessarily to win an event like this, but I think he could pay his way this year for Dean Harper. Radical Hero, I said to you before racing, I thought this lad will go well at a bit of a price, but you gave me a funny look and said he's 11-8, and I was like, but I went outside to have a few quid in him at 11-8, and he was 4-6, and that happened a couple of times on Saturday night. I was really surprised with some dogs, the price of some dogs. We'll touch on them later on. But if there's one I'm to take from the race, it would be Radical Hero. The time he done 1865 on a sprint comeback run, I think I mentioned to you, I don't think the track was flying that night, especially before racing. I think that was by some way the quickest trial on the night. And I think we had some big dogs trial on that night. I think it might have been, you might have had the other Toby and dogs like that trial on that night as well. So that was a huge sprint effort. He should come on for the run. You'd expect him to come on for the run. And if it was to take one for that heat, from that heat, would definitely be Radical Hero going forward.
Yeah, he has the 28-22 and the 28-24 and the 28-26 in his card. So it'd be no surprise if he get back to those sort of levels. And if he does, he is a bit of a player, but he's definitely a dog that likes to dictate. I know most of them do, but he seems to be a very different greyhound when he is given room out front rather than when he's trying to run from behind. I've seen him put in a couple of stinkers from off, when failing to get to the front early. So just keep that in mind. If you thought he'd be led early, perhaps he is one to oppose. On to the third heat, where the other Kobe was, understandably one of the favourites, the joint favourites in the end with Kilgraney Sydney on defence. Kilgraney Sydney certainly had the draw, but if the other Kobe had hit the lids, I thought he'd been more than able for it, but missed the kick and then found traffic on the corner. It just never really happened for him, and sadly he went out of the competition after that 28-10 trial. But that's it. It's about getting your start, and in the end, Kilgraney Sydney forced his way to the front down the back straight, getting by Story's Law, who'd shown good early dash to clear the corner. Nice young greyhound, that Story's Law, had 5 wins from 6 prior to this, and I thought lost nothing in defeat the other night. He's beaten a length at a length, but Kilgraney Sydney, a good winner, 2 powerful down the back straight, and running on well was Killahan Sydney. Showed loads of dash from the second bend to home. Big dog, took him a while to get going, but Kilgraney Sydney, we've known for a long time how talented he is. Declan, touch frustrating. Some serious trials in his card, but probably doesn't win as often as he should. But who knows? He's a March 20 now. He's certainly a mature greyhound, perhaps ready to give his very best.
He could have a great second season, actually, and he showed the other night that he doesn't have to lead, which we kind of knew anyway, so that gives him a plus over quite a few. He later in the season he'll get to 550. Story's Law, as you say, very inexperienced for this. Ran a cracker, will keep improving all the time, and it's one of the more interesting ones here. If you're to pick perhaps an outsider, or something that's not an obvious one to win it, Story's Law could be very much in the mix. And I was impressed with Kilhan Sydney too, I must say. But Kilgraney Sydney does favour the inside big time. Not necessarily trap one, but does want to get on that fence at some stage. And as we saw on Saturday night, when he does, he's powerful.
Yeah, it's probably not unfair to say that he is very draw dependent, because if he's in 3 and 4, he tends to struggle in the very top company to find that pitch. Where he's on the fence, he doesn't have to worry about trying to find a pitch. He just has to worry about going forward. And that's what he's very good at, going forward. Fast greyhound, no question about it. Behind them were Dogs Anonymous as well. Obviously, Story's Law we've mentioned, but Dogs Anonymous, interesting runner. I would say probably one of his first starts for Graham Holland, having made the move. And who's to say he can't improve for that? He's some decent form around Dundalk, including a 28-38 run on his card. It'd be interesting to see how he develops over the next few weeks. Moving on to Heat 4, and this was a race where I marked the card up for a man who ended up not making it, but I stuck it down on the card. Take a small chance on 2 Toolmaker Wild. It might sort of fall in his lap. With Check for Sir on the inside, likely to move off the middle, and Clonagh tends to miss the kick and fly up into the corner, and Flaming Moneybags can often make a use of himself in a sense where he fashes out and he gets up there and he's not afraid to use himself. So I thought there was a chance of a bit of traffic here. As it was, Check for Sir showed great early boot to get around the opening corner, but Toolmaker Wild found a lovely seam, and off the second bend, Barry, it was probably a case of when rather than if he got up, and he did get up in the last few strides to win by a half length. He's very powerful, he's race fit, and he's in particularly good form at present.
He is, like, you had him pigeonholed as a bit of a, even over 575 and 550 is a sort of staying type. And when you see him in 525, you think he's going to struggle here. But I think he might have won 4 or 5 of his last 8 or 9 runs. He's really turned the corner. I think
often these strong running greyhounds, they're better in 525 yard company than it would be 550, 575. They're picking up an easier type of dog to pick up rather than a 550, 575 yard dog.
Yeah, and usually they are behind and they find themselves last at the first bend, so they can just pick their way around instead of being in the middle or maybe 4th or 5th. But yeah, he won a little state competition in there not so long ago as well. So he's really running well. Look, can I see him winning it? He need an awful lot of luck going forward. But look, he could be the type that could just pick his way through second and third and make it to the final. And look, you seen what happened there on Saturday night. If you get a bit of luck, you never know. Check for sure for Carl Ramsbottom. Yeah, look, he's still a nice type. He's got plenty of early pace. He could go another round or two. But the most unlucky dog of the entire night, I think, on Saturday was Caul and Declan. He was stopped a couple of times. He was even stopped off the last bend. I don't think he would have came from behind Toolmaker Wild, but at that stage, I think his heart was broke. He got in that much trouble. I think it's only his first run back of the season. He does lack just that yard, I think, against top 5 dogs.
Yeah, well, he actually lacks it at traps because he actually flies into the corner. I think he'll make a very good 550-yard dog because he might just get to the front. But it's if you actually look at his sectionals, and Declan will back this up, like we look at his good runs, 216, 217, a couple of 224s in his card there. Declan, he has yet to do the 205, the 206. If he does, he's capable of doing 28 seconds.
To be honest, he reminds me of Born Warrior. At certain stages
in his youth, very early stages.
It was only come Derby time that Born Warrior really started to actually hit the lid. Now he was always up there in tremendous early pace. He is very good. Credit to Toolmaker Wild though. When I saw the draw, I said it's a nightmare for him. Check for Soren 1, Playing Moneyback's going to come off from 3, Caul and Declan from 4.
It's the draw. It's the draw you're thinking. Don't hit it. You know, the worst thing he could have done was hit the lids.
Yeah, but no, it was a good performance. Check for Star is getting better all the time, you know, and on another night could have held on certainly. And Caul and Declan, I agree with Barry, he was very unlucky. The first bend, he was practically turned around, you know, and then he met trouble again during the race. So they all emerged with tremendous credit.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of quality in that heat. Check for Sir, we just have to mention it. It was his first run out of A1 company, or you know, it was his first run back in open class company, and he's certainly a very progressive dog. Like he's won 12 of his 20 starts. You know, that doesn't happen. You know, without a bit of talent. So it'd be interesting to see how he comes on for the run. Obviously, first run of the year since obviously he won the Dublin Cup at the back end of last year. But it's just a nice dog to keep an eye on. Toolmaker Wild, though, good winner, and again, the one that we're going to take out of the race. If we had to pick the likeliest winner of the competition out of the race, it would be Caul and Declan. And behind them, of course, Pints Not Pilates. A good night for Martin Lanny. He had 2 qualifiers. We'll get back to Martin a little bit later on. On to Heat 5, and this was won by Disco Pints. I personally think this was the most impressive win, is probably the wrong way of terming it, but I think this was the dog that really showed determination and strength and just a real sort of will to win to get in front here, because he was stopped on a couple of occasions. Declan, he's been obviously flying down at Tralee in the Kingdom Derby. He did spend time with Graham Holland in the past, and they had punted him a few times here at Shelbourne Park and left him only a couple of times, but he's one of these, he's a March 20, but he seems like a younger Greyhound in a sense where it's just taken him a while for the penny to drop, but he's really progressive and he's absolutely flying at present. He had every chance to give it up the other night, but he kept on going and he got there on the line to chin Ballycrystal Ace. I thought it was a really gutsy display.
It was. Ballycrystal Ace ran a cracker. And that's another dog that's improving all the time, and is a very good dog and a lively outsider in this competition.
He is exceptional early speed, Declan. To give Crafty Bonanza a start, and he did it recently as well. He raced up inside Crafty Bonanza on the corner. Not too many can do that.
That's right. And the previous Saturday in a very hot race, he was very unlucky. He was completely bottled in the corner and had to check out. So, and to come back straight away and to run like that, Ballycrystal Ace is improving and it's impressive. Disco Pants was very good. There's no doubt that event in Tralee, it was a great prep for this. They're all over the shop. And it's a good race. You know, one time only, it just didn't happen. That's it. He did fast out at the inside, fast out at the other side. It just didn't happen for him. So yeah, the first 2 of the 2 you would immediately take out of this. Croker Spirit got through, and Crafty Bonanza. Martin is a very, very good dog for sure, and you can see him qualifying, and he'll probably get his box most of the times as well, or quite near to it. You know, there's only a few wide seas going through. So yeah, they're all good. Impressed by the winner, but Ballycrystal Ace is very, very good.
Yeah, Barry, just this was a good Greyhound race, wasn't it? Yeah, filled with proper 525-yard Greyhounds.
It was, and he got a great roar from the crowd. Disco Pants. I was out in the stands watching that, and just because
Like
of his name,
he's a dog. He's a dog like himself and Pablo Escobar. Let's say,
yeah,
like whenever they're on the card, you can be absolutely certain they're going to be at least 2 or 3 points shorter on the toes
on the
than they
toes,
will be
yeah,
with the layers in the ring. You know.
yeah. So
Okay, ladies, no.
he got a great roar home from the casual fans, if you say, on Saturday night. So it was a great atmosphere for that race. But yeah, look, he's a decent dog. He's won 4 of his last 5. He's been flying around Tralee, as you say. Ballycrystal Ace, talking about his early pace, I think he's broke 2:10 on maybe 7 of his last 10 starts to Shelbourne Park. So that just shows you. And you mentioned Martin Slog out in 6, Crafty Bonanza. You mentioned it in commentary what a professional he is. Over 2 bends and 4 bends. He really does fly the lids every night. And to go up the inside of him, I suppose Crafty Bonanza's better once he hits the back straight down on his own in front, and he probably just soaks a little bit when something is upside him. But Croker Spirit for me, like I know he was a talking dog maybe a year and a half ago. I still think there's a big run in him. I think the last couple of nights
He's had an interrupted career, and I looked at
yeah,
it the other night and went, my God, he's a September 19. How did that
yeah.
happen? You
But he's
know,
only had
because
29
we
races,
feel
I think.
I've always felt like he was a dog that was. It's only a matter of time before it clicks for him. But just he's had an interrupted career. It's an awful shame, but he's definitely shown enough the last 2 nights to suggest there's a
He
big
is,
run in him
yeah,
still.
yeah. I thought he ran better than the placing suggests previously. It was a Winter Racing Festival, maybe it was the week before. But even then, last Saturday night at a small betting them, and like we know he can fly out on occasions, and he didn't hit the lids, but he's still shown good pace down into the third bend and running on quite strongly. I still think there might be a run left in him. I know he's knocking on a bit. He's a September 19, but yeah, I still wouldn't lose the fight with him. He's seen a few quid as well in the ring. I thought he would have been a
Yeah.
bigger price to 3-1. There was a few quid from a forward as
He
well, but
he doesn't quite have the trapping ability of his brother Serene Ace, who recently retired. But I'll tell you one
possibly
thing,
not.
as you say, when he does hit it, he can run. He was third in Crafty Bonanza, fourth. Yeah, just a cracking contest, and a real, like, I know one time only was 2-1, but it was a proper 3-1 to field race. You know what I mean? That's the way it should have been.
Yeah,
just to touch on one time only, like obviously he's not the dog he was when he's winning laurels and champion stakes, but he's been desperately unlucky with trap draws and stuff in races.
Yeah.
You know that way. And at this stage of his career, like I think his heart's broke. You know that way. He just, like, if he was getting one every week, like even down in Cork and the laurels, he was being drawn out in 3 and 4 and going to the bend with the likes of these Serene Aces and Good Codys, and it could just break your heart in the end. And he's not had much luck.
He's A1, you know that.
Yeah,
Like, you could be saying have bad luck with draws. He could turn up next week and be 4 on to win an A1. In fact, after a couple of defeats, he might nearly be A2.
beware of entering your dog in an A1 stake in Shelbourne Park over the next couple of weeks.
We'll put him into an A2, Declan. We'll just watch the market top of the card.
Well, there are some strange dogs running in A2s and A3s lately. That's for sure. Yeah,
I've seen Derby finalists running in an A2 2 weeks after the Derby final.
That happened only a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it can happen. It can happen. Moving on, the last of the 6 seats, and the one that we spoke about probably most beforehand, was because we saw the return of the Derby champion, Born Warrior. And by all accounts, I think the whatever you like syndicate, Jennifer O'Donnell, I think they have every reason to be pleased as punch. He charged the traps badly in his comeback trial. The trial that's on his card, the 29-12, and cramped up that night, and they just felt he was a little bit sore and whatnot. And you know yourself, Declan, we've seen it over the years. Dog charges boxes, it can leave a little bit of as much a mental scar as it can. You know, it can take him a race or two to get back into it. But he ran hard the other night. He just happened to come up against a real 5-2-5 yard dog in Galloping Sydney, who came away well, showed his early speed. We saw it at various times during the likes of the Laurels and even the early rounds at Derby. I remember winning a heat at the Derby. He was very, very well back from the inside and missed a kick and flew up the inside. But he's a very talented dog, and this was win number 13 from 24 starts. So, you know, you could fall into the trap of talking just about the Derby winner running well in defeat, but you know, Galloping Sydney's a big player in this competition.
Very much so, and he's improving. He is progressive all the time. And I know we're talking about a dog a while back that's unlucky with trap draws and that, but let's give credit to the dogs that run from any trap.
And it's funny enough, this is a half brother. This is a half a full brother to the amazing of the dog we were talking about, unlucky with trap.
Yeah. Well, they make fools of us all. But he's a good, as you say, he's in form. He's running well, runs Shelbourne particularly well. Galloping Sydney has a real chance in this and in all the big competitions going forward, I would think. Born Warrior, to be honest, I was worried for him. First run since the Derby final, you know, that's you're skating on a little bit of ice there. We've seen in recent years and in the Easter Cup. Derby winners go out in the first round. These things can be tricky. And as you say, he had the trial didn't go well for him at all. One thing and another, but he's a very professional dog. 550 suits him better just to run up. He barely gets 550, but it does suit him better. But it was a very good performance, and he's behind a very good dog, a match fit dog, informed dog. They both come out of the race with great credit. Bogger Hunter too. That was a tough heat to be drawn into, to say the least of it. You know what I mean?
He's a very, very fast greyhound, and some night he's going to put it all together, and he's going to beat the best in the business by a street. But it just doesn't quite get on the bunny often enough.
Perhaps, yeah, and Tullygraven has tremendous pace, but this isn't his trip, basically. So they all emerge with credit. Certainly, I agree with you. Galloping Sydney is a serious player in this competition, and Born Warrior will come on.
Yeah, let's take a quick glance through the quarterfinals, and let's not get too hung up on the opening heat because it's going to be a nightmare to call it. Never mind talking about it. We have Kilgraney Sydney, Stream of Sydney, Galloping Sydney, Killahan Sydney. It's a shame that Toolmaker Sydney wasn't in it. We could have had five of them. There's no more Sydneys apart from those five, and four of them have been drawn in. Oh, Toolmaker Wild. Sorry, I thought there was another Sydney somewhere. Am I wrong? No, well, Sydney was last year.
The minute I saw the draw, I said, "Thank God I'm not like Ian and Barry have to do commentaries because you could leave me out of that one."
Well, at least they're not tongue twisters. It's just going to sound bad because you're going to say Sydney.
Yeah, it'll be confusing for everyone. But
who knows? Story's Law could pop out and make every inch of the running, and we won't have to too concerned about the Sydneys. But it's a cracking heat to get off, get underway with. Barry, firstly, sorry, I meant to ask your take. Born Warrior, Galloping Sydney, both ran very, very well.
Yeah, the only winner I backed all night was the Galloping Sydney. I thought he was exceptional. I really did. I thought if I was to take one dog out of Saturday night to go and win it, it would be Galloping Sydney for me. I think if you look back at the race, Born Warrior has had his issues with trapping the odd occasion, but I think he trapped as well as he possibly can there on Saturday night. And he might have even been a neck or a half length up on Galloping Sydney after a couple of yards. And for Galloping Sydney to go up the inside and the Derby winner, I thought it was a huge performance. So I was really taken by him. Just to mention in the betting ring that for that race, it was sensational. That the first four home. You all right there, Declan?
Yeah, I was just trying to adjust something here. Go ahead.
The first four home were all well backed. It really was. The betting ring was flying there for that race. So they really were. Tullygraven was supported. Bogger Hunter was supported. And just as I turned me back to head up the stands, I know he was returned 5-4, but Ted Hegarty was running 6-4 about Born Warrior. So plenty of action in the ring. But I thought Galloping Sydney was sensational. I really did. But obviously Born Warrior will come on for the run, and I'm sure they're glad just to get him through.
Keep talking about Galloping Sydney there, Barry, because he's in the opening quarterfinal. It's a good contest. Kilgraney Sydney very well housed in the fence. Galloping Sydney is probably the one exception in the sense where they're all well housed, with the exception of Galloping Sydney, who'd prefer to be on the fence, but given his early speed, he can certainly play a big part in proceedings.
Yeah, when you look at the first off, you think maybe he hasn't got the worst of the draw because Killahan Sydney does lack a yard of early pace. And I know Stream of Sydney turned second the other night behind another holiday, but it's not something she always does. Yeah. So first off, you might think it's not a great draw. I think it's an okay draw. Now, having said that, Story's Law showed good early pace for one so young on Saturday night. And look, Kilgraney Sydney can fly away from one as well. So I don't think he's necessarily going to fly to the rails. I think he's clever enough to run up straight enough on the run to the corner, and I think he should have too much early place for Stream of Sydney and Killahan Sydney. Points not Pilates will do his own thing out wide. It probably just lacks a yard on a couple of days. But Kilgraney Sydney's not always the greatest of trappers either. So there could be a case to be made for Galloping Sydney making all. Having a bet in that race, he will be the one. I'll be siding on Saturday night.
Yeah, just a warning for those placing a bet at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Watch your Sydneys. Maybe call out trap numbers rather than names. Declan, do you have an opinion on it? Or it's competitive. I'll probably end up tipping Galloping Sydney myself. What way would you see it?
I agree with Barry. Actually, I think Galloping Sydney, the way it finished up, is actually well drawn. And he will go up well. And there could be crowding on the inside as well. That's another thing you have to watch here. They're all top class, and obviously it's 5-5 and Shelbourne. What gets around the corner in front is always and Kilgraney, you could
especially this especially this level of company.
Yeah, and Kilgraney Sydney is perfectly drawn for sure. But I would just about fancy 4. I would think.
I'll make a bold prediction in Heat 2. I think Another Holiday will lead. Okay, now Will he be far enough forward after last week's run? Declan, you'd like to think he'd come on a length or two forward, and if he's doing 28-25, it's going to be very hard to pick up. Clonagh is obviously a big danger, but he's going to need to find his trapping boots like he does at 210 the other night, and that's amongst his very best sectionals, and he couldn't quite get there or get around. Another Holiday does 2 seconds, so the evidence is there. Clonagh Flash will be running on. Bogger Hunter will be showing all his boot down the back straight and staying on. Clonagh Blue is capable of running on. He's just not quite sharp enough for this sort of company. But yeah, listen, is it between Another Holiday and Clonagh?
Yes, very much. And they'll probably finish in that order, I would think.
Barry?
I'd be siding with Clonagh in this. I thought he showed huge pace last week in defeat. I fully expect Another Holiday to lead. I fully expect him to come on for last week. So you're wondering how can Clonagh come from behind in 28-30, but I just thought he showed all sorts of gears last week. Look, his trial the previous to this competition was 28-15, so he's obviously in rude health. I think he could go around second. I don't know how well Clonagh Flash will break from 1. I don't think the likes of Dogs Anonymous, Bogger Hunter, and Kevin Lossie's dog Clonagh Blue have the early pace that Clonagh has once he hits the ground. So I think if he goes around second, if I was to say to you, enter the back straight, Another Holiday 3 in front of Clonagh, what way would you bet it then? I think Clonagh could pick him up.
The only thing I'd say about Another Holiday, and I'm just trying to look back on last week's run, he does tend to move off down the back straight. I remember in the Juvenile Derby last year, we got a wider middle draw. I wasn't too concerned by it because he does tend to stay a middle path for large parts of the race. So if Clonagh does slip around second, his decision might be made for him. He might just have room up the inside. That's where you could see him potentially making up his ground and perhaps getting to the front. But just keep that in mind if you are having a bet in the race. It's hard to see past the two of them. I agree. I think Bogger Hunter will be third or the one that might potentially get involved in the front two if they clash or if one of them ties up or whatnot. On to the third heat, Born Warrior. I don't think you could have asked for a better sort of a draw with the likes of Droopy's Lovable and Tullagrave and Ballycown-Liam in 3, 4, and 5. Yes, there's early speed with Rotterdam Molly in 2 and Croker Spears very well housed in the fence. But I think if Born Warrior comes on for last week's run and makes one of his better starts, I'd like to think he'll be in control pretty early here, Declan.
He could be. Well, Rotterdam Molly, obviously, Rotterdam Molly, can absolutely fly out. This could be the night Croker Spirit finally decides to start breaking again. As you say, he is perfectly drawn, but you'd have to say Born Warrior will come on for last week, surely, and is a Derby champion, and should win.
Barry, he won't be a big price.
I don't think he won't be any shorter than even money. I think you'll get even money on the night. I really do. You have.
I honestly, Barry. Honestly,
now, come on. We've had this discussion before, and I've always been right. I'm
going to say he's going to be 8-15.
No, he'd be closer to even money on the night, and I'll tell you
why. And that's
because
I didn't want to say 2-1 on, right?
He will be
Declan, what price do you think he'll be?
Well, Barry has said something I'd be very wary of. I'm always right. that is tempting fate if ever there was. I can see where it's coming from. The bookies could take him on. He could take him on. It isn't 550. There is big early pace on the inside. He could still be a tiny bit ring rusty, but certainly I'd be surprised if he was evens. I would be surprised now.
Yeah.
If you're a layer there,
I'd fall off my chair now. I'd fall off my chair.
No, if you're a layer there, you've got a couple of dogs running for you. Obviously, Croker Spirit, look, we need to see him come back to what he was, but he's well capable. Rat Down Molly has so much experience around there from Trap 2. She's done 28-27 around there in the past, and a not too distant pass either. She's only in April 21. She's well capable of doing a 204, 205 up. If she's doing that sort of a run, Born Warrior is going to have to be on his A game, not even his B game. I know he's a Derby winner. And then you have Ballycown-Liam for Dean Harper, who I thought ran a blinder last week. Of course, Tullagraven is classy on his day as well. So
we can make claims for them all as well, but when it comes down
to I'm just saying
he won't be what price we're talking about. We're not talking whether he wins or not.
Money. Won't be short
he'll be considerably short in even money. But it's okay. Dawn is behind the scenes here. She's going to clip out that little 30-second slot there, and we have you now. We have you by the short.
Even money, Born Warrior. He won't be any shorter than that.
Okay, on to the last heat. With Born Warrior likely to win at 2-1 on to the final heat where the early speed is pretty abundant. We have Ballycrystal Ace, Radical Hero, Check for Sir, Disco Pants, Crafty Bonanza. Oh, Toolmaker Wiles in a lovely pitch in that fence again, Declan. You know, you'd like to think something would get loose at the head of affairs, but if Toolmaker Wiles finds himself slipping around on the inside, any bit of bother on the outside, he won't be far away.
Well, I think 2, 3, and 4 are going to break. Absolutely, they're going to fly out. So you're in the lap of the gods after that. You know, one that could zip around in front of you. Which, I think, funny, surprisingly, could be Paddy Crystal Ace. Might just get around that corner in front.
I think Paddy Crystal Ace is perhaps the most likely winner, or leader, should I say, with Crafty Bonanza going up fast on his outside. Be interested to see how Disco Pants can handle Radical Hero and Check for Sure. If he did, he's a player.
It's going to be hard to win this from behind, though. You know, you have 3 serious dogs in front that have plenty of pace, and that would see it out. You know, but it's an open. It is the most open heat. You really, as you say, can make a case for them all. Crafty Bonanza running on again on the outside. Disco Pants out. I ran a cracker last week. Very impressed by him. You know, so that could be a race to watch rather than have a bet. I think.
Yeah, Barry, this is one now you could realistically make claims for each of the 6.
Yeah, the one I would be most fearful for in this race would be Disco Pants. I just don't like a Crafty Bonanza hits the lids every night, and then when you look to his left, you've real early pace. Disco Pants is a very good dog, but I just think he'd be a yard off by Crystal Ace, Radical Hero, and check for sure to the bend. And if he turns with those 3 in front of him and possibly Crafty Bonanza, I think he's going to have a wall of dogs in front of him. And then saying that Toolmaker Wiles will be hot on his heels as well. So if it was to fear for one there and take one on, it would be Disco Pants. You're probably going to clip that out as well now and put it back in when he wins next week. But I'll be made a show off here next week. It's very hard to call, very open. Radical Hero, if you look at his card, is littered with sub 210 sectionals. We mentioned Paddy Crystal Ace, 7 sub 210 sectionals in his last few races. Crafty Bonanza from Martin Nanny. You said it in commentary last week. Never misses a kick. What a professional from the start. And Check for Sure. Look, yeah, he's more of a sort of a 210, 211 dog, but he has got flashes of 203s and 204 on his card. Having a bet, yeah, it's a tough one, but no matter what you were doing, you'd always have to have a tenner on Toolmaker Wiles as a saver, isn't it? Because
I think funny enough, the key to his race isn't actually the first bend; it's the third bend.
Yes,
while he's carrying momentum, if there's room on the fence at the third bend, depending on what's in front, he's a big danger, because if the Ballycrystal Ace is going to be coming back to the field, fair enough. But you'd imagine like a Check for Sure or a Disco Pants or even a Crafty Bonanza who kicks again if he's in front. They might be hard enough to pick up. But if Toolmaker Wiles gets around the third bend, he certainly won't be far away. An intriguing heat and a great way to finish off the 4 quarterfinals. Declan, just looking through it, you know, I said beforehand, you know, people sort of say at the start the competition's weak enough and get stronger and stronger through the event. It's pretty strong as we speak here. There's good 24 dogs there.
Brilliant. It's a brilliant competition, absolutely. And it's a great start to the season. As you say, there's always 3 or 4 that we know coming into it, and then there's 2 or 3 who emerge during it. And Daniel Cho and Stream in Sydney, she's top class as well. And she's one that won't have to lead. You know what I mean? With a style of running. It's difficult to call a winner at this stage. Very difficult. An outright winner, I mean, yeah.
And it's unfair to look ahead because, you know, obviously this is a brilliant competition, great competition, grade 1 competition. But when you consider the dogs that aren't there and you look at the Easter Cup,
oh yes.
Oh, baby, bring it on. Bring it on.
That would be something, yeah.
That's the Gold Cup. Actually, before we go, Barry, what's your most likely winner of the Gold Cup?
Galloping Sydney. I just think, I know we use this phrase so often that a case can be made for an awful lot of them, but 525 around Shelbourne Park, off the front, there's 24 dogs left in that competition. There's 20 of them can do 28-20 off the front. There really is. And if you're doing that sort of a run, it's going to be very hard to come from behind.
And there's only 2 or 3 of them that are likely to be in front every night, or could be in front every night.
But there's possibilities that dogs can take flyers, you know.
And I dare say the market will reflect that. It'd be the likes of another holiday, Galloping Sydney, Born Warrior, and maybe another. Declan, what's your idea of most likely winner?
Another holiday.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not giving up on the Derby champion by any stretch of imagination, but Trap 6, 525 yards at Shelbourne Park is different to Trap 6, 550 yards Shelbourne Park. And another holiday is certainly amongst the most professional dogs at boxes in the country. And with the prospect of improving from last year, well, that's scary. Trained by Michael O'Donoghue, likely to be in front most nights. Yeah, I think he's probably the one I'd end up siding with, but I think Born Warrior obviously deserves all due respect, and Galloping Sydney as well. Cracking competition. A man we want to mention, Declan, that has a couple of runners left in the competition, Martin Lanny. He had his 15th 100 winner on Friday night at Dundalk. It wasn't 5 minutes over the line. I got a text message from Paul Hennessy, of course, a great pal of Martin. They have a great association, both with the dogs and of course with the horses. And he said 1,500 winners. He says to do it at Dundalk, his home track, is something special. But it's a great achievement. Like, Martin is a youthful looking individual, but he's been around a long time.
Yes, he's a superb trainer, great guy, a lovely guy, and everyone will be delighted for him. He's certainly one of the most popular guys in the game. For sure, he is,
And Barry, I couldn't help but, taking a little dig as well in the piece. His beloved Liverpool were beaten 3-0 at the weekend. So it's nice for him to get something back,
Oh, yeah. Look, I know Martin a long, long time. I've had dogs with Martin for going back 20 years, believe it or not. I have to show you how old the two of us are getting.
Back to your mid-30s, yeah?
You want to be quiet. I was a late teenager, I think I was. But I've had dogs with Martin years and years. Lovely fella. Yeah, he is. And he's got a nice team of dogs at the moment as well, like really consistent dogs. Probably just a yard or two off the very, very top, likes of the Points Not Pilates and the Crafty Bonanza. But they've paid their way and they've given the lads a lot of crack in recent months. But yeah, for to have 1,500 winners, for fair play to him. He puts in a lot of work. So delighted for him.
One thing about his dogs, certainly the likes of the Crafty Bonanzas, the Roxhome Duke, the Pints Not Pilates dog. Like, if you have the three of them in the kennel, that's probably 30 wins in the year guaranteed, because they have run so consistently well, all good starters, all good early speed. They're all top 6 runners, and it's like a mirror image of each other. They're 3 fast greyhounds, just professional dogs to have about you.
And Crafty Bonanza, you're waiting for him. Sorry, Declan. Crafty Bonanza, you're waiting for him every night to miss the kick. That way, and then he'll rock up in a 400 in Dundalk. But was it behind McCool Blue that night he ran? Like, can we see what McCool
and he won one previous week as well. He's 21:01 for the 400.
Exactly, And then he comes back the next week, different track, different set of traps, and bang, 2:04 again. You know that way.
Yeah.
Roxhome Duke as well as another one. He was quite unlucky the night of the Winter Racing Festival, wasn't he? Very, very close to going around in front. He was that much away from going around in front and just got clipped from behind. So yeah, he has a nice team of dogs to look forward.
Sounds like a man to back them.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Declan, you wouldn't mind would like them.
No, and in Martin's dogs in general are wonderfully consistent, and they've good long careers, and the owners get tremendous fun out of them, for sure to do. Yeah,
that's worth pointing out. They do have a long career now. Obviously, Martin does manipulation and whatnot, and he goes through his dogs rigorously, and the proof is in the pudding. Like, look at Crafty Bonanza, 47 races. Actually, it's probably 48 races now, 17 wins in November 19, and still running like a puppy. No, great credit to Martin, great achievement. Congratulations, young man. And may Liverpool pick up another few points before the end of the season. Not too many now. Not too many.
I actually went on his honeymoon, believe it or not.
Okay, now do we need to know this? Do we?
I think the women thought we had it planned, but we arrived over in Lanzarote. Just, what are you doing? I think the wife was delighted, but I turned up on his honeymoon totally by accident. Now, of course. There you go. Continue.
There you are now. A few more things we want to touch upon. At Clonmel over the last 3 nights, some wonderful performances. But the one I want to talk about just briefly is, of course, the final of the Rural Kennels Open and Raced last night. It went to Rural KI, a bitch and a daughter of New Win Taylor. All the same, New Win Taylor from his, when I say very first crop, I think one of the runners in this litter was his second ever runner on Irish Shores. Rural Taylor was a good winner in the opening round of the competition, and it's his sister Rural KI who came out and won the final last night. And for being a New Win Taylor, you expect crash bang wallop out in front. This lady is very, very strong. She actually lacks a yard early, but my God, she really does fly. And while the gap opened for her last night, she ran on really strongly. Barry, she's a nice type.
She is a nice type, nice size about her as well. We've seen this more and more in recent years. All the top bitches in the country, they're all that 64, 65, 66. They're bigger than they usually were. Ballymac Ariel was a big bitch as well, wasn't she? I think
she was close to 70, yeah. 70,
yeah. So it used to be 60 pounds, used to be a fairly big size bitch, but now they're all in the mid 60s. But yeah, look, it was a race that you can keep an eye on, most of them going forward, because there was a little bit of trouble in it. But look, she took her opportunity well. As I say, she was near last at the first when the gaps did open up for her, but just to get there, by a neck beating the Borges dog, who again ran well with credit. But there's a couple in behind as well that made a bit of trouble at the bend. We're only beating a couple of lengths, but look, a nice prize to win. I think it was over €6,000 down there.
Yeah, 6,200. Yeah.
Yeah, nice prize to win at this stage of her career. She obviously has a huge career, but look, it's a race that I'm sure this time next year, if you were to look back, you'll see the finalists littered all over the place in good class competitions.
It's been won last year by Swords Rex, and the previous year by Jack's Little Thing. Of course, Jack's Little Thing went on to be third in the Derby, won the champion plate. Swords Rex, an immense greyhound. Like, what a star. Excuse me. Winner of the Kirby Memorial, was odds-on favourite for the Clonmel Produce Stakes. 27.79 in Shelbourne Park, fastest time of the year, fastest time for quite some time in Shelbourne Park. And that was in ON2 the last 2 years. And this year, Declan, they go ON1. And while they're a very good bunch, I'm not sure we're going to see a Jack's Little Thing or a Swords Rex. So, the irony is there. You make it open, in theory, open to the better pups, and probably not the real star emerged from it. But don't get me wrong, there's some really exciting trackers in it. Droopy's Racer was 4-6 favourite in the competition. He was so impressive in the first 2 rounds, and then almost more impressive finishing third in the semi-finals when he was nearly on the deck, showed unbelievable pace. Again, traffic the other night, he finished last. The dog I really like, and I must say, I think the world of this dog, Hukum, Hukum. I think he's a very, very bright prospect. He was close to the pace last night, again got balked, but I like the winner, Rural KI.
They're obviously all very good. I mean, and whether it's the Swords Rex or not, time will tell. But they will all compete, you would think, at a very, very high level going forward, for sure.
Yeah, no question about it. Looking ahead now, lots of rumours going about. The juvenile down in Tralee looks to be pretty hot. More and more, Declan, we've seen in the last 2 to 3 years. It's always been the case, but particularly the last 3 or 4 years, that it's not just 1 or 2 dogs that emerged from the juvenile, it's a dozen. And this year's juvenile, there's rumours going about that there are some absolute flying machines knocking about, as you'd expect.
They're always flying machines before they run. There will be, and didn't Slip Along Sally come out of that as well?
Sing Along Sally, yeah,
and then the Kirby as well. There's tremendous. But the copy of racing now, as you said, the Easter Cup, that is going to be something else altogether. When the good 550 dogs come back, that is going to be something very special, I would think.
Yeah, Barry, looking forward to you eventing for the juvenile.
Absolutely not. No, well, lift down will do me. That's about all I have at the moment, and I don't even have a lift at the moment. But no, nothing for the juvenile. And look, we've the Kirby to look forward to as well, which is always a tremendous competition. So look, it's good to have like a classic racing back at Shelbourne Park, and it's all roads leading forward now to the really big events in the spring. So bring it on.
Yeah,
and Black Bridges deserves some mention, surely.
Oh, of course. One of the most prolific greyhounds in Ireland at present. What's she now? 6 from 8 or 5 from 7?
That'll be next week. She'll be 6 from 8.
All right.
No, 5 from 7. But look, Adam Dunford there. He trained that dog of yours, Hukum. I actually don't know Adam. I must introduce myself now on Friday night. He's some kennel of dogs I haven't seen him around up until the last couple of years, but he's got a lovely bitch in that final. Quiver's Magic, I think it's called.
Yeah, Quiver's Magic.
Yeah. Really
strong. She's a strong runner, though, Barry. You'd be looking to get the jump on her.
We'd have to be 5 or 6 clear of halfway, all right. But look, that's the plan. But you never know. If you're not in, you can't win. So, but yeah, his bitch looks really special. But so we'll give it a rattle on Friday and see what happens.
You heard it here, folks. Barry just said his bitch is an absolute certainty. Okay, that's it. That's what he just said.
Born Warrior will be even money.
No, you're not going yet, because I want to mention one more thing. At this time when bad news here and there, and a bit of gloom around the place, I tend to walk away from it. I tend to walk away from the gloom, but I'm walking headfirst into this one because it's not gloomy. Lifford Stadium is reopening. We have to give it a mention, Declan. It's a wonderful racing surface. It's a wonderful venue, and the very best of luck to all involved.
Absolutely, it's a very brave venture. It was a great circuit, a great track in its time, and with Longford gone as well, you do need as much opportunities as you get in that part of the country. But it looks, I mean, they're aiming high with it. They're certainly ambitious plans, and good luck to them. Why not? Yeah. For sure.
They seem to be doing things right up there, Barry. The place looks immaculate from whatever pictures I've seen and drone shots. It doesn't look like I'll be able to go there March or on April 2nd. the wife has called halt. I'm due to be going to Mallorca, so it might just be out. I might have to delay my first appearance in Lifford for a month or so. But the very best of luck to all involved. It's important that we have, you know, the industry going forward. That we why not open up stadiums again?
Yeah, I'm really hoping to get up there myself. 2nd of April, I'm trying to get up. Even thinking about flying up. I was talking to you on Saturday night, flying style, but it's a bit away from the track.
I
But
told
look,
you it's like an hour and a half from the
yeah,
track.
I know. You're better off driving from Dublin, but I'm hoping to get up there for the 2nd of April for the opening night. Like, I remember Lifford. Remember College Causeway went up. I think it was after he won the Derby and ran up on the 550 in there. A lovely big track, and
It
he
wasn't
went down
after
the
he won
middle
the
of it.
Derby anyway.
Wasn't it?
No,
Well,
he retired after the Derby, but
well, then
he did
before
the
the
clock
Derby.
up there for the 550. Yeah,
That's
the
right. Yeah,
Northwest Derby. Yeah.
yeah, splitting them down the back straight, and it's a lovely looking track as well. It's a little bit Shelbourne-esque. It's nice and big and wide, and
At the time they based it, I think, on the when they did the brand new Lifford Stadium, they based it on the dimensions of Shelbourne Park,
yeah,
with
and
obviously
it
a little
looks
bit
like
more
that.
camber in parts as well. It's wonderful racing surface.
Yeah, it looks like that as well. It's a nice track to watch races on, and look, very enthusiastic bunch of people behind us. They've got big plans with the tote stuff and all that. And look, we all wish them nothing but the best of luck and help them out in whatever way we can. But yeah, I hope it goes well. Nice to have a track in that section of the country as well. So yeah, big fingers crossed for them all, and I really hope it goes well. I hope to be there myself anyway.
Yeah, I don't have to sell it to the missus. Like we've been saying about, we should go up to Donegal at some time, and I said, just sort of re-sparked my interest in Donegal in the last few months. I said, you know, we should get up to the northwest. It'd be a lovely part of the country, you know. So we might time it over some weekend and try and get the Sunday in. But no, the very best of luck to them. They'll be racing Fridays and Sundays. April 2nd, as Barry mentioned, is their gala opening, and yeah, very best of luck to all involved. But that's it for this week. My thanks once again to I was going to say the Exile Dub. It's not. He's very much a dub. He's on the other side of the river, but he's still in Dublin. Barry Caul, yeah, could get dressed up for the occasion. Declan, who's wearing a much nicer shirt, which is something that's regularly said in the company of Barry. Well done, Declan, for dressing up for the occasion. We look forward to the second round, the quarterfinals of the Gold Cup on Saturday night at Shelbourne Park. Nothing like the big guns coming back to action.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff.
Bring it on. Barry, will you be there again on the weekend?
I'll be there Friday. Would I get away with going Saturday? That'll be 6 nights in a row in Shelbourne. She won't listen to this, so yeah. Hopefully, I'll be there.
What Barry has done often in the past is create an argument, stormed out of the house. Right, I'm gone. come back with flowers in hand after the dogs. I like it, Barry. I like it. I hope she's not watching. Anyway, that's it. That's it for Talking Dogs on a Monday on this Tuesday evening. Again, have a good one, and we'll see you next week. Good night. God bless. Talk to you next time.